Well, it looks like we're at time 10 o'clock CST. So hello everyone, and welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Improved Knowledge Sharing, the Key to Employee Productivity. In today's session, you'll see the importance of knowledge sharing and how to make it easier for employees to share valuable insights with their colleagues. This deep dive will show you how LumApps can empower your employees to improve productivity to the fullest extent. This meeting is being recorded, and all registrants will receive a link to the recording later this week or early next week. We ask that you stay on mute since there is a sizable audience for today's content. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce myself and other speakers that we have here today. So my name is Andrew Gansey, and I'm here with the Wursta team, and I do a lot of the demand gen things. And who I have on the call is Nicole, our solutions engineer here at Wursta, and then Mary, if you want to say hi.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I'm Mary Kaplan. I work in product marketing at LumApps. So LumApps, we're an employee intranet and the only intranet recommended by Google Workspace for Google. And I'm based in Austin, Texas, where it's a pretty beautiful day. Can't complain.
Amazing.
Oh, and hi everyone, I'm Nicole Rastel. So I'm a solutions engineer with Wursta. My role is to help you start your internet journey by scoping out a services project to get you started and implemented on the platform.
Amazing, amazing. And with that being said, this event is being hosted by Wursta. Our mission is to help organizations maximize their use of the cloud. We work side by side to help our clients make good technology decisions, grow their business in ways they wouldn't have the ability to do otherwise. And this helps organizations develop a culture of continuous collaboration and innovation. But with all that collaboration, however, organizations have a lot to worry about when it comes to improving the employee experience and promoting knowledge sharing. LumApps provides a solution to assist teams to feel connected to their company and engage within their work. Before we hand it off to the LumApps team, I would like Nicole to our solution engineer to walk through how Wursta can help beforehand. So if you want to take it away, Nicole.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce Wursta. So as a LumApps partner, we provide implementation services to help you achieve those internal communication goals that you have. We have a full range of services, and we can do integrations with other third-party applications as well to make it a more complete solution. We also know that launching software in your organization can be a challenge. So we have an amazing change management team who can provide communications planning services and help drive that user adoption and engagement. And then a really great service that Wursta offers is that after the initial engagement is done, we are available to help you continue your journey with regular check-ins. We're on hand to help drive progress and keep you updated on new features as they're released so that you're getting the full value of the platform. And all of that would be managed by a dedicated account manager. And then also we'd like to discuss how we would help you on your journey. So it's not something you're going to build in a day. And what we'd like to do is sit down with you and conduct a bit of a strategy session to make sure that you have some long-term goals and planning in mind. And from there, really focus in on one or two use cases that have high impact to your organization. The use case doesn't have to necessarily focus on the entire organization. You could just focus in on a team that really needs some good tools to stay connected. But really what we want to do is kind of focus on what you're trying to get out of the platform. So some of the questions or answers we're looking for is, when this intranet is launched, all team members will have one location to read all organizational updates and comment and get feedback. We want to make sure that we're measuring to a goal that will be productive for your organization. So then we help you define that and design it and roll it out. And then to be successful, what we recommend is after doing a little bit of analytics and monitoring what's going on your platform, you return back to that first step of some planning and strategy to see how you're fulfilling your strategy and what you can do to take yourself to the next level. So that's just a really high level overview of growing your intranet in your organization. So thanks for your time today, and I'm going to hand it over to Mary a LumApps expert to discuss what a successful journey looks like for a customer. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. I love that iterative approach. You're 100% right. It's not a project, it's a program. Okay, so at LumApps, so we are an employee intranet, and I like to say, it's not your dad's intranet. It's not the intranet of the 90s or early 2000s that was sort of just a content dumping ground or a link farm. The joke in the industry is intranet is where, good content goes to die. That doesn't help anyone. We're way past that. And with our intranet, we really focus on the employee's experience, right? So what is employee experience? It's become a pretty hot topic these days. And I love Gartner's definition. It's sort of all encompassing. Employee experience is the sum of all interactions that an employee has across their different touch points in their day-to-day work. So this could be things like digital tools. It could be, Google Chat as part of employee experience, as is email, but it's also relationships, the relationship you have with your manager and your team. And it really defines your outlook in your career and your trajectory, as well as it plays huge effects on employee engagement, right? Which then plays huge effects on employee productivity, because we know those are extremely linked. You really can't have one without the other. So why such a focus on employee experience? Well, in the past, not that this has changed, but in the past, customer experience is pretty much the number one goal of any enterprise, right? I know Nicole would say customer experience is the number one goal of Wursta. LumApps is going to say our customer experience is the number one goal. But what's reframed that is employee experience can no longer take, a second or a third seat to customer experience. The experience our employees have working at our organizations has to be paramount. And employee experience has always been something that's thought of, right? Ask anyone in HR, ask any manager, they want employees to be happy, healthy, productive, and engaged. But what's changed is really the tools. I think our digital tools are finally catching up to really make impacts to create more positive employee experiences. And the reality is we're at a bit of a crossroads when it comes to employee experience and what it's like to be an employee today. Now, I'm not here with my world's tiniest violin saying that it's oh so drab, but it's not that easy to be an employee today. Whether you're on the front line or you're sitting behind a desk, working from home, working in the office, or you're on the go, it's not that easy to be an employee. The digital landscape that we all find ourselves in is often very, very complicated. And companies like Wursta, they work to make it seamless and integrated and less complicated, but there's still so many of us that have just a plethora of digital tools. They're not connected. Work is getting repeated. Knowledge is siloed. So what I mean by that is, even if you have the best intentions, rolling out communications and rolling out a new intranet or a new chat tool, right? If an employee is reading something that is not specifically meant for them, are they really going to read it? Are they going to come back and continuously check it? For example, we have a lot of my coworkers that work in Paris, France. If I logged into my intranet and every day the home page is talking about the office move in Paris and the company kickoff in France, am I going to continue to log in, right? That's not for me. I'm in Austin, Texas. As much as I maybe like, okay, that's cool. I'm not going to Paris, France. I'm not working in that office. It's just not personalized to me. And to be honest, there's way too much information today. Sometimes we call it infobesity, right? For me personally, when I'm at work, there's like 7 ways to get a hold of me. That's not counting my actual cell phone where you can call and text. There's just sometimes it's overwhelming, right? The amount of ways that we can get in touch with people and send them information. And we kind of put the burden on an employee to sift through information to find what's relevant for them, take it, move on and be more productive. And ultimately, you know, a lot of things just aren't being seen. If I live and breathe in Google Chat, but my sales team is working in Slack, you know, and I'm only trying to ping them in Google Chat, things aren't being seen, things aren't integrated, and work can sometimes get repeated. So we're at that crossroads, and we've seen that a lot of companies are making employee experience a very top priority. There's a huge rise in the digital employee experience teams, and Forrester does a lot of great research on this rise of teams, and it's kind of this beautiful marriage between IT, comms, and HR make up the digital employee experience teams at many companies. But in reality, in 2022 in the United States, almost half of all employees reported that they were seeking a new job. That's pretty scary. I don't work in HR, but even to me, that's frightening, right? And only 36% of employees were reporting that they were feeling really engaged in their work and in their workplace. And the most surprising stat that I saw in preparing for this presentation was that 63% of companies are reporting that retaining an employee is harder than hiring a new one. So again, doom and gloom, these stats are painting a picture that employees are not engaged, they're in a deluge of information, they're maybe seeking a new job, and it's actually easier to hire a new employee than keep a current one. Although we know that's not the goal. We would love our employees to stay employed at our company, move, change roles, grow in their career with us. The reality is that's often quite hard to do. So what does this have to do with collaboration and digital tools and knowledge sharing? I think it has a lot to do with that. And I think when we think about employee experience, and so much of us, our jobs are completely online, so digital tools play a huge role in that, right? When it comes to your job, think about, do you spend a lot of time and get super frustrated looking for things, right? Searching for relevant information at work. And if you work in IT in any capacity or in some sort of internal support team, you know, back in 2021, I can't imagine the numbers now, but, you know, 70% increase in employee request. So that paints a picture again that even though we maybe have all done our best putting digital tools together, whether that's knowledge bases, things are still kind of hard to find. And even if they are found, maybe they're old, outdated, irrelevant. So adding on to that, right, about 50% of employees in recent years have said there's been a reduction or a restructuring of teams. I know I've seen that at my company. I know my husband's seen that at his company, especially in the tech world, the reduction and restructuring of teams. That's always kind of been status quo, but it does seem to be ramped up recently. So often the message that we're getting is, hey, we have to do more with less. There might be less of us. We still have to be productive and get work out the door. So in reality, right, employees and their knowledge are your most valuable asset. Think about it, especially that statistic about it's harder to retain than to hire new employees. We know how expensive that is to hire a new employee, or when you lose an employee due to ramp time, but also think about that institutional knowledge that an employee has when they walk out the door. We don't want to lose that, right? We don't want them to walk out the door in the first place, but if that does happen and when it happens, we want to retain that knowledge. We want to make sure your sales team in Cupertino, you know, has a way to communicate with your sales team in Philadelphia. Maybe they have a different region, a different patch, but that doesn't mean a win story that happens on the West Coast can't be, you know, utilized by the East Coast. And Gartner research found that 71% of leaders are more concerned about employee collaboration now than they were before the COVID-19 pandemic. And so that is requiring a number of companies are looking at really intentionally redesigning their notion of collaboration at their company with a focus on asynchronous collaboration. So synchronous collaboration is Google Chat, right? I chatted Nicole. We've been chatting before this webinar. It's instantaneous. We're getting work done and answering each other's questions. Asynchronous collaboration is often when I log in the morning and it's 2 p.m. in Paris, I can see 3 or 4 things that have been posted on my intranet about competition, about customer stories, and like I said, even their company kickoff over there in France. So asynchronous collaboration is more of that institutional knowledge. It's categorized, there's metadata, it's searchable, you can return to it over a period of time, and it's not meant to be a chat that you need to respond to right away. It's meant to be read and digested and then shared with others. So when it comes to optimizing digital employee experience and a lot of leaders rethinking collaboration in today's world, they're prioritizing 3 things. They're prioritizing that an employee can find what they need quickly, that it's relevant, it's up to date, and then they can move on with their day. They found what they need, they can move on. They're prioritizing that an employee can stay up to date with their team, or even not just their team, but multiple different teams across the org and with corporate initiatives. And they're prioritizing that each employee can very, very easily share what they know, contribute to corporate culture, institutional knowledge, and create that knowledge base of what it means to be an employee at your company. So how do tools like LumApps help? So LumApps as an employee intranet, like I said, it's not just a link farm, it's not just a corporate portal. It's very interactive and very engaging. And the goal is to help collaboration through team spaces, right? So when you think about spaces and what they could look like, of course, you're going to have department-based spaces. You could have new team member onboarding space. You could have location spaces, one for Austin, Texas. You could have spaces for upcoming events. Those could be marketing events. Those could be internal events, regional initiatives. But the space is really up to you as a company, right? Your space covers your need. And what makes it different from a Google space, right? Well, it's not chat-based. It's not about that quick synchronous collaboration. It's, hey, even if we're mostly online and hybrid and everyone's working from, the far reaches of the globe, when it comes to team member onboarding, we want one space in our intranet where you can find everything that you need. What events are coming up? What blogs have other new employees written? Where's the benefits handbook, right? Where do I need to go to figure out how to enroll in my security compliance? And then also, where can I ask questions that then a new team member being hired 4 months later can read that question and do a search and see if that helps them. So it's persistent. It's hopefully, I love chat, I live in chat, but things get lost and it's this infinite scroll, right? And the idea here is to make it more of a stable space for whatever you need. Likewise, we have so many of our customers who are using spaces to really create those knowledge bases and create that frontline kind of first level of support. So what do I mean by that? If you're working in IT in any capacity, so many of our customers create a space that is kind of like IT help and support 101. It has your knowledge base, it has your wiki. It could also have an integration to actually jump out to Jira to log a ticket or stay in LumApps and log that ticket. But the idea is, if I can instruct employees to use this space, maybe I can cut down on ticket costs because they're already going to see that Q&A and it can help them, right? Likewise with HR assistants, leadership, right? You could have town hall spaces or just leadership communication spaces. But one of my favorite examples is dish networks. So think about for your cable and internet needs. So dish networks, they use spaces in a few really unique ways. They have a space as their sales enablement portal. So all of their sales folks live and breathe in this space. It's connected and deeply integrated with Salesforce. It has their wikis, it has their pricing books and their up-to-date pitch decks. And then they do Q&A with each other, with sales engineers, and with sales enablement folks. But they also have a space, and they have an entirely separate site. If you call in and you're having issues, right, you're literally a customer for logging support tickets, they use LumApps as their knowledge base. So they have it completely metadata and categorized with tons of different, everything you need to know about dish support. And then in their space is when, again, they're pinging updates, asking each other questions, doing success cases, how they resolve this and that case. So there's just multiple different ways you can use these spaces that provide a little bit better governance and better control than things like chat. And last but not least, corporate initiatives, right? We have a customer, Publicis Sapient, and they were using a previous intranet solution called Jive. Some of you may know it, some of you may have used it yourselves. And when it came to Jive, I mean, that's super community-based. They didn't call it communities, but super social and engaging. So they, with rolling out LumApps intranet, really leaned into the corporate communications part of it, the content management system. They created a beautiful homepage. They were able to create multiple different departmental pages. But where they were able to really push and leverage spaces is with their diversity and inclusion initiatives. Because in a space, it's not just about posting back and forth to each other and answering questions. It's about sharing blogs and articles and videos and more rich media type content that they then dynamically surfaced up on the homepage or on different department pages. So spaces, whether it's departments, locations, knowledge sharing, support, or strategic initiatives, they can find a home at your organization. Now, I love customer stories. What I mean by that is a lot of times with SaaS solutions, if I go to their website, I go straight to the customer page because that's what puts it into focus for me. Okay, I know you're saying you do all this stuff, but what do your customers really use you for? So I'd love to take a few minutes to go through a customer story about Instructure. And Instructure, founded in 2008, they are one of the top names in ed tech, right? Their flagship product, Canvas, is probably, I would say, the most used LMS across the globe. It used to be Blackboard, but I think, it switched and now it's Canvas. So Instructure is based in Salt Lake City, but they have campuses around the globe and offices around the globe. They're and they needed an intranet solution. Not only do they have Canvas, but they have multiple different products that they put out to market. And if you at your company also have multiple different products you put out to market, it can get complicated, right? It gets complicated internally, so it can get really complicated externally. Just creating, the right sales enablement, the right messaging, making sure everyone has that. When we're SaaS companies and we're constantly evolving, it's quite a goal to keep everything very structured and centralized. So they were really looking for an intranet, but of course they weren't looking for the intranets of the past. They wanted an intranet that would really impact employee experience. And as a global company, they wanted an intranet that could really function as their full-on knowledge-based content management system. They wanted to do all of their product enablement and sales enablement via their intranet. And they were looking for an employee experience intranet that could focus on personalization. Every employee is unique. every employee at Instructure, there were multiple different languages, different cultures, different time zones. So they wanted to make sure personalization could be a big part of their new intranet. And they wanted an intranet that was super flexible, right? In terms of how it looked, how you could brand it, how you can customize it. But also, in like many organizations, they were growing through acquisitions. So many digital tools, once you buy them, you're locked in. You buy a company and you add 2,000 more employees that use Microsoft and not Google, sorry, right? That's not LumApps. So they really, through their form, they found LumApps because we really dive into, with our CMS capabilities, taxonomy structure, right? Our metadata is super flexible. We could kind of nerd out for that for a while, but if that's something that you love, and it's something that's essential as companies are growing, right? You have to have a good, flexible, and highly governed taxonomy so that, again, content stays up to date and can be kind of gardened over time, right? They wanted to have a platform that they could fully design and brand. They wanted to have a platform that was deeply, deeply integrated with Google, and they used Slack. So a lot of companies, they'll use Slack, and with Google, some companies obviously just use Google. So all of that ended up, they chose LumApps. And part of their strategy, and this is where Nicole was speaking to where Wursta comes in with rolling out a tool like LumApps, is it's not a rip and replace, right? Even if you had an intranet solution before, when you're thinking about getting a new intranet, it's a great time to think about your content strategy, or in even just your communication strategy, right? Instructure was also going through a full rebrand due to M&A activity. So being able to create a content strategy and rebrand and launch a new intranet at the same time, while it was work, it was the perfect time for them. They wanted to really create a communication strategy because, like we said at the beginning, the flow of information these days is constant. So they really wanted to develop a strategy that took the burden off of employees and just help them as much as they could with personalization, with timing. So they really were thinking through that as they were rolling out LumApps. And then again, they really dove into our metadata. Given that they had employees in Hungary, given that they had employees in Brazil, every single piece of content had metadata and tagging and categories placed to it. And they used a lot of video as well, super engaging. And they looked at accessibility because that's extremely important, right, when rolling out a new intranet. So this is an example of what Instructure looks like, because one of their biggest use cases for launch was revenue enablement. We want an intranet that serves as our revenue enablement knowledge base and sales enablement portal. And because they leverage video so much and find video a very engaging and very well-received medium, they created multiple different video libraries that they then were able to not just talk about revenue enablement and changes there, but hey, we have a new intranet. Let's walk through it. Let me show you this. Let me show you that. So the results that they were able to see after rolling out their new intranet was increased employee engagement. And they measure that, like many of our customers do, based on views, based on session time and adoption, based on how many, spaces are created and interacted with. And then also the technical backend improvements, right? They were using Google Sites previously. Nothing wrong with Google Sites. I would challenge you, if that you're using that as your intranet and you're more than 1,000 employees, things could get out of hand very quickly. So they were seeing, from their point of view, comms teams, when they switched from Google Sites to LumApps, a lot better data governance, management features. They really felt like they invested in a solution that will grow with them over time. Okay, so what are the big ideas if you could just walk away with a few things to think about and ruminate on? So when it comes to the world of work today, right? So many companies have put a really big focus on the employee's experience, and that being the sum of all interactions that an employee has. And that's due to huge shifts that we've seen, whether it's the COVID-19 pandemic, work from home mandates, the great resignation. Um, the world of work is constantly changing and evolving. I even find it hard to keep up, but so many companies are starting to invest in very specific teams to make sure they're providing the best employee experience, digital experience for their employees. And the state of collaboration and knowledge sharing is very different from what it once was, right? There used to be Jive ruled the market in terms of collaboration and in terms of knowledge sharing. Well, that's not the case anymore. With the rise of tools like Google Chat, like Slack, like even Teams, super quickly adopted, it changed the landscape for what is collaboration, how do we need to plan for it in the future, what are our employees lacking? Our job, it's to make it easy, right, for employees as best we can. There will always be challenges, but luckily there's technology that's been catching up in the world of employee experience, in the world of collaboration, that can help. No one's telling you if your employees love Google Chat and they're using it and adopting it and getting work done, that's fabulous. There's no one's telling you need to stop that. But if there's a gap in your knowledge management, a tool like LumApps and Spaces can help. And if your technology understands who your employee is, then you can personalize their experience, right? So I'm Mary, I live in Austin, Texas, and I work in product marketing. I want my technology to surface up information to me based on who I am. And we do that through metadata. We do that through what you can subscribe to, but then also recommendations. Mary, you read this, you might like to read that. You follow this space, maybe you'd like to follow that space. So baking in some of that smart, AI-based technology to really make your employee experience very personal and very engaging. For my last slide, I did want to give a big picture on who is LumApps when it comes to our relationship with Google. So we were born in 2016 in the Google world, and we've since been many times recommended as the only intranet for Google Workspace. We're a Google Premier Partner. We're always at Google Next and on stage. This year, we finally were able to be on stage and be with Google when they released their Google Chat APIs as one of their kind of premier vendors and examples and partners. And so it's a world that we were born in. It's a world that we will never leave, and we're super passionate about. And just like Wursta, we have a ton of Google Workspace knowledge and experience. So that's it for me. We have time and would love to get to some questions if there are any.